Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, I am really excited to welcome you all back to the show and to share with you as a guest today, HeatherAsh Amara. She is the author of 9 books, including the best-selling Warrior Goddess Training, The 7 Secrets to Happy and Healthy Relationships with Don McGill Ruiz Jr., and her new release, Wild, Willing, and Wise. She unconditionally guides people to shift from self-judgment to discernment, victimhood to authentic vulnerability, and to shed limiting domestication so they can ground into their self-intimacy, steadiness, and stillness. Welcome, HeatherAsh. So wonderful to have you here. So wonderful for us to finally connect.
Yes, it's been a bit. I'm really happy to be here, Jennifer. Thanks for inviting me to.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I'd love really for you to share with us what guided you to this path initially.
I grew up in Southeast Asia and traveled a lot as a kid. So I was exposed to a lot of different spiritual traditions. And really, kind of what sparked it for me as an adult was moving to the United States and realizing I felt really disconnected and I didn't understand why. And so after I got into politics really big for a couple of years, I recognized, that's not what I'm looking for. And I started studying different spiritual paths and have just been so blessed in my lifetime with some incredible teachers and guides. And I just love sharing what I've learned along the way.
So really, this has always just kind of been a spark within you, right?
It
Yeah.
really has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even before you came to the US. I'd love for you to share with us more about your work, including the new book that you have out.
Yeah. The new book's very exciting. It's called Wild, Willing, and Wise. And all of my work is really about empowerment, around courage, around open-hearted living. And the recent book, and I can go backwards a little bit as well, but the recent book I wrote as we were coming out of the pandemic. And my thought was, what do we need? What do we need as humans right now? And what I recognize is we need simple tools and concepts, and we need playfulness. We need a sense of joy. And so, Wild, Willing, and Wise is a reimagining of the maiden, mother, crone archetype. And wild is our creative, playful, joyful aspect. Willing is our courageous, steady, sustainable, let's do whatever it takes. And wise is that quiet, patient, big picture view. And they're not sequential. We need all of them. So I think about them as circular and that we're looking at what's the right blend that I need in my life right now. We move around the circle or blend these different energies together, kind of like colors. So that's the most recent book. And then the book that I'm most well known for is called Warrior Goddess Training. And it was written now 11 years ago. And it was one of those books that just hit at the right time when I feel like women were really ready to make some big changes in their life. And it was on Amazon as the best-selling book on shaman in 2 different categories for 4 years, number 1 for 4 years. And it still like goes in and out of the top 10. And I've talked to so many women, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, what warrior goddess training is, but I need some. And it's that blend of the warrior, which is our courage, steady, yes.
Yeah.
And the goddess, which is that receptive, open, creative, more flowing energy, and learning how to bring both of them into our being and find what's the right blend for us.
I love that so much. Something that was coming forward a moment or two ago when you were speaking is, you know, one of the things in my own experience and on my own personal journey, as well as working with other clients too, that we are challenged with, especially as someone who's paving their own path here, is really transcending all of those constructs, right? That we've been taught to believe that we need to achieve success or to really be able to answer our higher calling. And then with that, also just all of what is happening in the world right now, sometimes it can be, hard not to feel like you're getting swept up, in everything that's happening. What would be your guidance to those who are listening to really navigate this current world we're living in and all of the changes that are happening, just with the most ease and grace and groundedness in who we are?
Yeah, it's a great question. And in Wild, Willing, and Wise, I use a metaphor throughout the book, which I found is incredibly helpful for us to get a sense of where we're at and what we could shift to release those agreements and beliefs. So the metaphor is about life as a river, and that the river is always going to be flowing, and that there's places in the river that are calm, there's places in the river that are really rocky and scary and hard to navigate. And we've been going through rocky times for a while now, but even in the rockiest, most challenging times, there's always places of rest. We can always pull our boat out of the water and get resourced before we go back in. And we can also get more skillful in our relationship with life. And so, a couple skills is that kind of foundationally, if we start shifting from I have to fix myself or I have to fix the world, like the river's flowing, it's going to do what it's going to do. Doesn't mean we're helpless though. But when we really start to name, I'm not broken, I need to adjust. And to use these three archetypes of do I need more wild, do I need more willing, or do I need more wise is a simple way to start to navigate the river. Because I think of them as river guides and they're incredibly helpful. And some of us have, let's say, an excess of wild where we just jump into anything without thinking about it. And some of us are deficient in wild, where we are holding ourselves back constantly and not giving ourselves permission to have joy or to explore, to make mistakes. And so when we start to understand, it's not about, I need to check these boxes off, it's about adjusting and finding what's needed in relationship to the river in our lives now, then we can start to call in guides and allies because we can't do it alone. We need coaches like you. We need people that are shining a light. And I like to think about it as people that have been on the river and that can say, they're not like, there's only one way to raft this river, but are like, hey, here's what I've learned on the river. This might help you. And so that's a way for us to start to frame in our life. We're in big rapids right now, which means we need more skills so that we're using less energy and clear about where our attention, where we want to put our attention.
We, I, I'm not the only one who talks about this. I'm thinking, how do I want to word this? How do I
Yes.
want to phrase this question? But we speak a lot in terms of our own self-development, our own intuitive development around, that the answers are already within us, right? That it's really not so much about healing as it is really more just remembrance of the truth of who we are. Uh, what would your wisdom or advice be for those who are listening in terms of that line between, right, trusting their own inner guidance versus being able to identify, hey, I really can benefit from reaching out for support?
Yeah. No, I always look at, we want to be becoming more self intimate with who we are now, rather than who we think we should be or who we've been in the past. And that part of that self intimacy is sorting what's my intuition versus what's my strategy.
Mhm.
And so a strategy is a template that we take on to keep ourselves safe. There's four main strategies that I've noticed: pleasers, isolators, distractors, and controllers. And so when we're in one of our strategies, we tend to think, I shouldn't need help here. I should be able to figure this out on my own. And so when we start to really look at our strategies and say, oh, right, I'm a pleaser, I'm wanting everybody else to be happy, and I don't believe I deserve to get help because everybody else needs more help than I do or deserves the help more. Or I'm an isolator and I'm always, to keep safe, I keep removing myself from situations. And so I also don't think I should reach out for help. And so there's this way that when we start to understand our patterns, then we can start to ask ourselves the question, is this actually intuition? What does my intuition feel like versus what does my strategy feel like? And the strategies are sneaky because they feel familiar and they give us an illusion of safety. And the truth is, they have costs. And reaching out and getting help and really using our intuition to be like, oh, this is out of my, like, I do need help here. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And that being attached to your intuition doesn't mean that you always know the answers. It means that you know when you don't know the answers and you need to find the right person. And your intuition helps you find the right person, right? So,
Yes, yes, exactly. So, yes, so spot on. Something that I teach about and talk about often is the importance of uh, being able to feel truth in your own body. Because even sometimes with our intuition, right, depending on what your unique intuitive gifts are and how that voice comes through for you, um, really moving forward with whatever decision we're making, sometimes our physical body isn't always like saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Like there can be stored trauma, core wounding, or various other distortions that are being still kind of stored and held in our body that are not speaking the same language as our intuition is. So what would be your advice in terms of how someone can ground more into being embodied in that truth, into really feeling that truth so that they can develop a higher like frequency of confidence in making their decisions and taking action?
yeah, that's great. Because, people will say to me, well, you can always trust your body. I'm like, no, you can't. Like, your body, there's a lot going on there. And usually our bodies are, we're looking at our body through our mind.
Yes,
Definitely
so
trust the
true.
mind,
Yes.
right? So learning how to sort that, what I tell people, one of the tricks that I use, I'll just share a couple, is one is they're all really simple because I like to share simple tools, especially on podcasts. So one hand on your heart, one hand in your belly. Do this repeatedly every day. Is close your eyes and it's just a couple minutes. Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Hmm.
So there's this physical connecting with the body, saying hello, and starting to befriend what I call our animal body. Because we are animals, we're human, we're divine. We're all three. And so often we abandon our animal bodies, or our animal bodies have trauma or have wounding,
Hmm.
and we've abandoned ourselves, we've abandoned our bodies, and we're living, very few of us, I think, are actually in relationship with our body. We're in relationship with what our mind thinks our body should be doing.
So true.
Yeah, and it's painful, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so just coming back and making that commitment over and over again. Hi, I'm with you. I'm sorry I've been abandoning you. I'm here now. What do you need? How are you? What do you need? And there's a level of waiting to sort through the mind of like, I just need it to be better, or I need that person to stop doing that thing, and just be like, wait, what do you actually need? What do you actually need from me? What can we do right now? And so that's one piece. And another really simple piece is, again, to start separating the body from the mind and
Hmm.
the beliefs and agreements and all the stuff that happens in our mind, is to recognize our mind is often creating these huge run on sentences.
Hmm.
And it's often coming from what I call disaster mind. We're looking at what went wrong in the past and how we can avoid it, or beating ourselves up about things that happened in the past, or we're looking and worrying about the future. And we can do that easily, constantly. And so if we think about run on sentence, what I need to start doing is putting more periods in my thoughts.
Hmm.
That period, take a breath, let there be some space, And this is where you can then be like, hello, hi, I'm back. Where do I want to put my attention? And
Mhm.
that we do that over and over and over again. So instead of like, I'm going to go to this weekend workshop and fix myself, or I'm going to like, we want slow drip support
Yeah.
systems that we create that remind us every day to come back to ourselves.
Yeah.
And long
It's pretty common for people also to confuse information with action, like what you just said
oh
about
god,
going to
yeah,
this workshop for the weekend, right? It's just like, yes, there is a time to take in information, but what's in large missing, even still today, I believe from many teachings, is the integrative piece, the embodiment piece.
absolutely, yeah. And the piece that it's slow and it's you got to be steady and it doesn't,
Yeah.
I think people want so much of the quick fix of like, let me just do this one coach session or let me do this. But if we can realign ourselves or remember that you wouldn't brush your teeth once and be like, all right, I brushed my teeth once, I'm done.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true.
That it takes that every day. Or like I exercised once or I took one vitamin pill and I'm done. And
Yeah.
spiritual development and healing and opening our heart, it's a lifetime journey that we're dedicating ourselves to learning and
Yeah.
growth and exploration and making mistakes and doing it again. And we need a lot of guides on the path.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it means. I believe to live embodied in your truth. It's an everyday journey. And even within the day to day, it's an every moment devotion to being cognizant and being aware of the truth of who you are and how is that translating through all of your body systems, right? Mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Yeah, I really wanted to touch on the physical body because it really, like you said, so much of the time we're operating from our mind when it comes to our body, and we're just constantly pushing it and forcing it and not listening to what it needs. Where, I really feel like our ascension journey is about unifying and harmonizing all of those body systems to operate cohesively together.
Yeah, and I really, really agree. And what I found is that in order to bring that integration together, it's incredibly helpful for us to separate the systems out. And because what our mind needs to heal is different than what our emotional body needs to heal. And and our physical body is different than they're all connected, but then what our energy body might need. And the path that I am on, what I've noticed is that when we start to navigate our energy systems, that can help us heal the emotions and the mind. We have to get out of like, my mind can fix all this and start to realize your mind is not going to help you fix your emotional body, probably. Right. But if you start to separate and then start to have a relationship with your emotional body, the emotional body is incredibly wise. It actually knows exactly what it needs to do to heal. And I believe the body is very similar, that we just have to get the mind out of it and listen to the body or listen to the emotional body, and we'll get that insight and that information. That wisdom is inside of us, but it takes separating out the pieces and learning, how do I clean my mind, how do I clean my emotional body, and
Yeah.
then they start working better all together.
Yeah, and when we're feeling that something's off, really trusting ourselves and listening to that, because the societal programming is so deeply embedded and that we need to look outside of ourselves always, for the solution, especially, I mean, AI could be a whole episode and conversation which I have mixed feelings about personally. It's like there are, I believe, some aspects where it can be beneficial, but in some other ways it can just also be another thing where someone is outsourcing, giving away their power.
Exactly, exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's such a dance between learning to listen to our intuition and like we started with, like, and also reaching out for help and guidance, and that we need both. We need to be able to turn inward and reflect, but we also need to be able to go outward and be like, okay, this piece I need some extra help with, and not feel guilty or bad or less than. That we all need each other, and this hyper independent um, energy that we have, especially in America, which is you should be completely independent and be able to do everything on your own, is so harmful because we're all connected. We're connected to nature, we're connected to each other in so many deep ways. And so that reminder to all of us that we're so blessed to have the space and the resources that we have, and that you go to the grocery store and buy a strawberry, what has gone into that strawberry being in your hand? There's a
Yeah,
lot of
a
people,
lot.
a lot of
Yeah.
beings, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that, for me, that brings humility and gratitude of like, right, this is
Yes.
precious.
Yes. Like I was able to go to the store and simply pick this up because
Yeah.
I wanted it and I was able to have it today. And yeah, wow, like all that went into that, right? I mean, it really brings forth a deeper sense of gratitude for sure. Just for, I mean, how abundantly we live in, especially in the US in comparison to the rest of the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. To many parts of the rest of the world. It's so true. And I'm really blessed. I live off grid on 180 acres of land in the middle of New Mexico. And we have solar power. We have a well that pumps to a tank that's gravity fed. And so everything's limited. And I actually love that because it makes me much more mindful. And when I come into town, I'm like, look, water comes out of the tap and it's hot.
You're like,
Amazing.
oh my gosh, I love this. Yes. Oh my gosh, so much to be grateful for
So
sure.
much to be grateful for. Yeah.
And it just feels so simple too. Like I know for the last 12 years, I continue getting rid of things. I continue eliminating complexities and like unnecessary parts in all aspects of my life. Just, it's so true, that less is more. It really is.
Yeah, it really
It,
is.
it really is.
Yeah, that simplicity and that the simplicity of not creating our own drama, I think is the biggest thing that we can gift
So
ourselves,
true.
right?
Yes. And there is one other topic I'd love to touch on, that I actually that's kind of a big topic, but I'd love for you to share your wisdom and what your own experience has been on your path. And so, um, pretty much everyone that listens to this podcast is on their own ascension journey, right? They're consciously focused on living in the truth of who they are. And especially as someone who feels called to fulfill their mission through becoming an entrepreneur, or they already are, uh, money is a topic and wealth creation is a topic that comes up for everyone. And I'd love for you to share with us because it seems to be, many people kind of there's end up in one extreme or the other, right? Like there's very much a, I don't know if I want to call it a mindset, but a space of servitude, right? Where people feel uncomfortable actually charging, for the services that they're providing, in terms of what they're really worth, from a space of service. Or have been people in the industry that are on the other end of the spectrum, more heavily focused on achieve, this income and this amount every month and focus on this piece. So what would be your wisdom in terms of from your own journey of how you've navigated the dance with that, right? To stay in integrity with creating your own wealth from living authentically to who you are, and through your business as a vehicle for your mission.
Yeah. And this is such a big topic for entrepreneurs because so often those of us that get into spiritual spaces are, like you said, like either extreme of like, oh, I'm getting into this because fill in the blank. But
Yeah.
for me, it's been a journey of untangling my own belief system around finances and really understanding. I remember there was a place early on when I was teaching that I realized, people could spend their money on McDonald's or Starbucks every day, or they could spend their money on personal development and like being in community and learning how to be better humans and how to connect more to their intuition. And I'm like, and that's their choice. And I know what I'm offering and how valuable it is. And so if I stay true to this and know that people can make a choice, there was something about that that just kind of broke my like, nobody should put money into this thing. Because definitely had the poverty mentality. And that there's a place for me in our integrity where we're gently growing ourselves in relationship to finances, that there's this balance of what energy we're holding and what we're bringing in and the exchange, and that it's an exchange. And so
Mhm.
to be honest about what's the value of this exchange so that it feels good in your body. Because if you go over what feels good in your body, it's not going to work. You're going to sabotage yourself.
Yeah.
If you're undervaluing yourself, then there's always this sense there can start to be this sense of resentment.
Yeah.
And there's a place of what I've seen with the teachers that I train is often what happens is there's this expectation of like, well, HeatherAsh makes it look easy, so I should just start making money right away. And I'm like, oh girl, like it can take years, and the level of just steady showing up, pivoting, trying something new, staying steady even when it seems like it's not working, leaning into other people that have businesses and learning and ripening. It's a lot. It's a path, and it's a spiritual path. And I
Yeah.
think that is something that's really helpful for people to get.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really a path that in order for it to continue to unfold and expand, you really need to be in it with your full heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, I know I've been seeing this in the industry, especially recently, that some who have been out there with a less than full commitment, to that are beginning to fall away. So I really feel like, this path, there is no other path, just the path. And that having that level of that depth of devotion and commitment, knowing that you're here for something greater than yourself, I think is just so I feel, not even think, right, is like so fundamental to sticking with it, essentially. I mean, so much of what you shared has been similar on my own journey too. I mean, I've really, redefined what it even means to create wealth and wealth consciousness, right? And income, and that is just all like as big of a component as society makes it seem like it is. It really isn't. It's just like such a small part of all of it.
It is. And redefining, I just did a podcast with a dear friend of mine who this is her, like she does what's called spiritual finance initiative. So she trains people about finances. And we were talking about the idea of wealth, and that for us each to define what that means for us versus what society has told us wealth is. So for me, wealth is, I was just up on my land cleaning out the outhouses, and people are like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because it's a service and attending, and I feel full and
Yeah,
nourished. And and I love being an entrepreneur and also showing that there's other ways. It's not like, yay, shiny car, that means you're wealthy or whatever. Like, what is wealth for you? What makes you feel this sense of fullness and abundance? And, gardening for me, and being in service in a particular way. And then also teaching lots of people, like being in front of a lot of people and helping change lives. Yay, I love that. And so wealth isn't just how much money you have in the bank. It's really how you're connected to your values, what your
yeah,
values are that are from that you've created rather than you've just received. Is this is the way it's supposed to be.
yeah. I love that. So beautifully articulated. And I'm thinking as you're saying that, of course, I love cleaning my house because I love just appreciating the clean floor, the warm bed, the clean sheets, like just all of the abundance and all that is around us just all the time. It's never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, it's so true. And we can do the same thing. Like I'm the same way. We can also do the same thing with money. Like I have something I call Money Church, where every week, and I have not been very consistent recently, but my goal is every week I go check in on the finances. I'm like, hi friends, how's everybody doing? What's going on? What are the bills? What's coming in? And to make it sacred rather than this thing that I don't want to have to deal with. I light a candle, I have a spreadsheet, and there's this, and I've created it in a way that works for me. So I've used a lot of other people's systems. And when I really got, what do you want to create, sweetheart? What feels good to you? That's when everything started changing.
I love that so much. Heather Ash, in closing, what else are you feeling guided to bring forward in this now moment?
Hmm. Well, since your podcast is called Awakened Heart, which I love, that there's something so sweet to start to lean into the incredible wisdom that our heart has.
Mhm.
And that there's what I call our crust. And the crust is like the heart's like, oh, I want this. But it's actually the mind telling the
Mhm.
heart what it actually wants or what it thinks it should
Yep.
want. And to go for the depth of the heart. And that takes stillness. It
Mhm.
takes unplugging ourselves from other people's thoughts, from the social media, from who we think we're supposed to be, from our parents' beliefs, like all of it, spending a lot more time just being still and listening. And that place of coming back to, hi, sweetie, I'm listening to you.
Mhm.
We often have so abandoned ourselves, and it takes time to come back home to the heart, but the heart's waiting. Our
Yes.
big soul is waiting. It's just like, I'm here anytime.
Yes.
And it takes going back into relationship with our heart.
Yes. Stillness is one of my love languages.
Okay. Yes, me too.
Love that so much. If folks want to connect more deeply with you, where is the best place for them to go?
Best place is the website, which is warriorgoddess.com. And I also have a Substack, which is where my most fresh writing is at. And that's heatherash.substack.com. And there's a great quiz on this is new. We just put on the website, warriorgoddess.com/quiz. So you can go in and find out about your strategy. And God, the writing is so sweet and beautiful. So you can
I'll
read a
have
little
to go
about you.
check that out. I'm always up for something new.
It's beautiful. I'm really, really proud of it. I have such a great team. So we've been working really hard on that. So yeah,
Oh, awesome. I can't wait to check that out. And we will have those links for everyone listening available in the show notes for easy access. Heather Ash, just it's such an honor to finally connect with you. And I just loved our conversation. I could talk to you for days. Thank you so much for coming on.
you're so welcome, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.